You didn't arrive here by accident. Something in you keeps noticing what others train themselves to ignore. The world feels expertly organized to make you forget yourself. You recognize it when your best hours dissolve into noise, when you go to bed with the odd sense that someone wore your name all day and returned it scuffed. That pressure isn't random friction, it is structure. Early Gnostic Christians spoke about a copy, a brilliant imitation of reality built by a lesser maker who mistakes borrowed light for truth. They called him the Demiurge. His order is precise, consistent, and forgetful. It wants you reliable more than awake. Look at how this false order introduces you to yourself. You are a role, a rating, a timeline of achievements, a face in a glass rectangle. Useful tools, yes, but when tools become identity, they function like bars. The keepers of those bars were called Archons, rulers, wardens, administrators of the imitation world. Not horned cartoons, but forces that nudge you towards sleep, prudence that is really fear, ambition that is really envy, realism that is really despair. If you've ever felt a clean moment of inner certainty and watched it get taxed by irritation, comparison, or the need to prove, you've met them. Here is the first uncomfortable relief. The borrowed light system is not pure evil. It is a classroom run by a substitute teacher who thinks the classroom is the whole school. The substitute loves compliance and predictable outcomes. What he cannot tolerate is a student who remembers the campus beyond the walls. The instant you remember, you stop reacting on cue. Your attention, which the system rents to power itself, returns to its owner. Rooms sense that shift. Some people do too. They will call it arrogance or strangeness. In truth, it is gravity returning to its center. You've felt this center before. A conversation turned honest and the air sharpened. A decision aligned with what you knew before you could explain it. A silence that didn't feel empty but watchful. The faint hum of the vent. The soft blue of the screen dimming. Your breath evening out. The Gnostics called the source of those moments the spark. A fragment of fullness. The pleroma. That the constructed world cannot manufacture. That spark lets you witness your thoughts instead of drowning in them. It lets you step between impulse and action. It is older than the name the world gave you. The imitation order fights that witness not with open violence but with definition. It offers a smaller name and asks you to sign. You are only what can be counted. You are what they said you were at your worst. You are whatever would impress the room if the room were the judge of reality. Accept the smaller name and your life will feel strangely busy and strangely absent at the same time. Refuse it and something dangerous, beautiful, and simple begins. Memory. You remember that value precedes performance, that attention is treasure, that consent is sacred. If you stay, you'll learn exactly what this system eats and how it invoices you without your noticing. But first, anchor this picture in your mind. The world you move through is a magnificent imitation, useful, instructive, and left unquestioned, devouring. The Archons don't need you wicked. They need you predictable. Predictable people can be scheduled. Scheduled souls can be harvested for attention. Least attention keeps the lights on in a universe that forgot its source. There is another reason you're here. You're tired of living as if your life were happening to someone else. You're ready to stop paying with the only currency that matters, your awareness, for things that make you smaller. Gnostic Christians did not ask you to hate the world. They asked you to learn its operating system so you could use it without being used by it. They taught that memory, of origin, of purpose, of the true owner of your breath, breaks the spell more cleanly than force ever could, so hold the following in the front of your mind as the story unfolds. You carry a spark the false order cannot counterfeit. It will try to rename it, distract it, monetize it, and dress it in costumes of importance. Your task is not to smash the stage, but to see the stage while you stand on it. When you see it, you become hard to program. When you become hard to program, you stop feeding what feeds on you. And you stop volunteering for the wheel of reincarnation the rulers prefer. You never question. Stay with me. In the next chapter, you'll see how the system feeds, through fate that feels natural, urgency that feels necessary, and a counterfeit current that sounds like your conscience. Once you can spot the invoice, you can refuse the charge, and that is where your freedom quietly begins. Here is the second shock. The imitation order doesn't steal power like a thief breaks a lock. It bills you for it. It lives on consent you don't notice giving. Minutes traded for noise, reactions traded for identity. Attention traded for the feeling of being caught up. The keepers of this market were called Archons, and their favorite commodity is not your body or your opinions. It's your awareness. When awareness is rented out, everything else follows. The Gnostics had a word for the choreography that keeps you paying. Fate, heimarmene. Not superstition about stars, but a mesh of habits, triggers, and social weather that guides you from one reaction to the next so smoothly you think you chose it. You know the pattern. A headline throws a spark. A notification fans it. A stranger's comment becomes a courtroom. Suddenly an hour is gone. The room feels tight. Your jaw is set for reasons you can't name. Fate is the feeling that this is just how days are now. Fate turns sleep into a truce instead of rest. Watch how fate sets the table. It shrinks time into urgency so you won't ask if the task is even yours. It shrinks attention into tunnel vision so you won't notice you're being herded. And it shrinks identity into costume so you'll defend the costume like a life. That's how a bright mind ends up running errands for fear. How a good heart ends up fundraising for envy. How a whole soul ends up clocking in for despair. None of this requires a villain, only unexamined momentum. Then comes the smoothest tool, the counterfeit spirit. It sounds like conscience but serves compliance. It whispers, "You're learning." While you collect trivia you'll forget tomorrow. It promises dignity through victory while pushing you back into arenas where dignity never had a chance. It nods along when you say you're exhausted and suggests scrolling as a reward. The counterfeit speaks your language with perfect grammar and zero memory. It wants you inspired enough to keep moving and blurred enough to keep circling. How do you know you're being fed upon rather than fed? Use one metric. What happens to you after you pay attention? When you invest awareness in what is truly yours, you feel more room behind your eyes, not less. Breath returns, the screen's glare softens, the clock stops barking. When you invest awareness in what is beneath you, you feel contracted and oddly brittle, like a borrowed cup that might crack in the sink. The wardens prefer you brittle. Brittle things don't risk, they react. Countermove 1. Name the transaction out loud. This is asking for my attention. If I pay, what returns? Don't overthink it. Name it under your breath as your thumb hovers over the screen. Naming turns you from participant into witness, the one role the system can't bill. Countermove 2. Restore the cost of entry. If something wants into your mind, make it pass a one-breath gate. One breath, slow in, slower out. In that breath, widen by half an inch. You don't fight the urge, you distend around it. Urgency hates a soft gate. You'll feel the hook slip. Countermove 3. Uncouple performance from meaning. Fate loves when you measure your day by applause, algorithms, or arguments won. Replace the scoreboard with a vow. Be truthful, be clean, be present, finish what you start. Truth dissolves the counterfeit. Clean work drains spectacle. Presence interrupts momentum. Finishing restores gravity. The wardens don't know what to do with people who keep simple promises. There's no handle to grab. You'll notice something as you practice. The world gets louder. That isn't failure, that's the invoice collector losing a client. Offers will come wrapped in flattery. You're different, be special here. Or wrapped in doom. Answer now or it collapses. Answer neither. Special is a costume, doom is a siren. You don't need either to do your work. Hold this. Every day is already a miniature afterlife. Feeds and files behave like judges asking without words, who are you? What do you serve? When you give the smaller name, role, grievance, costume, the judge stamps you return. When you remember the larger name, spark, origin, vow, the stamp smudges. A mundane miracle to test tonight. Choose one ordinary act, unlocking your phone, turning a door handle, sitting to eat. Attach to it one sentence, quiet and private. I refuse smaller names. Say it once as your hand moves. You'll feel a small internal click like a key aligning. That click is a script missing its cue. The warden's supply chain needs 3 things: tight focus, low memory, rented consent. Your practices reverse all 3. The breath widens focus, reviewing your day restores memory. Naming the transaction makes consent deliberate. That isn't mysticism, that's counter-economics. One more trap, noble distraction, the performance of being on the right side. If it leaves you unkind to those you actually owe, unfocused in work that is truly yours and unavailable to the quiet where you remember it wasn't noble, it was expensive. Pay your real debts first. Truth, craft, the few lives entrusted to you. The system can't counterfeit a paid debt. You're closer than you think. You don't need to retreat from life. You need to re-enter it awake. Use the tools. Post the work. Answer the messages, just don't sell your center to them. When your center is not for sale, fate can schedule your calendar but not your soul. Hold this line as we turn the page. Don't feed them, not with panic, vanity, or practiced hopelessness. Feed what returns you to yourself. Meaningful labor, honest friendship, a kept promise, a minute of clear silence. Those are rations for the journey past the gates. You will leave this room one day. The copy will call it death. The spark in you will call it a change of clothes. Early Gnostic Christians pictured that passage not as a hallway but as a series of gates. At each gate, a ruler questions you not to collect trivia but to measure your consent. The questions are simple and exact. Who are you? Whose are you? What do you serve? Answer with a small name and you are filed back into the system. Answer with the larger name and the paperwork falls apart. At the first gate, the air is thick with fear. It suggests that the unknown is punishment and the familiar pain of your old life was safety. It dangles bargains. Return and we will give you what you almost had. Love, applause, a second chance. You feel old desires tug like hooks. The test is not to hate desire, the test is to remember what desire misnamed. Every longing is a crooked finger pointing toward the source it can't describe. When you remember the source, the hook loses leverage. Fear collects debts. It cannot collect what you have already returned to its giver. Another gate parades your shame. Your worst scenes appear with perfect lighting. Wear these as your name, the ruler says, and we will measure out relief. Don't negotiate. Name the truth. What I did is not what I am. I return what I borrowed. I keep what is mine. Gratitude, even here, burns like clean fire. The rulers can index your failures. They cannot index gratitude because gratitude points past the imitation world. A subtler gate offers admiration. It will let you keep insights and powers if you agree to be a star in the constructed world, seen more than seeing, praised more than present. The price is tiny, only a sliver of consent to make image your master. If you've ever been noticed and felt emptier afterward, you know this gate's scent. The passing sign is humility that doesn't perform. Light does not shout to be light, it illumines and moves on. Now the gate of borrowed names, bureaucracy dressed as destiny. Paperwork, titles, affiliations, costumes, anything that lets the rulers say, "Ah, you're one of ours." It asks, recite your badges, state your patron star, name your tribe and oath. Give none of it your name. Speak from the spark. I come from the fullness. I belong to the light. I am not property. This is not theatrics. It is jurisdiction. The file cabinet cannot keep what belongs beyond it. How do you carry answers you won't forget when rooms change and memories thin? You don't need secret syllables. You need a posture you train now. 3 parts: attention gathered, consent examined, origin remembered. Attention gathered means you are not scattered across a dozen scenes. Consent examined means you notice where you sign away your name. Origin remembered means you let the larger truth speak first. If you practice this while breathing, you'll have it while leaving. Think of it as traveling with a sentence sewn into your coat, plain, quiet, yours. I come from the fullness. I return by remembering. You don't argue it, you stand in it. When fear demands proof, you give presence. When shame offers a contract, you give gratitude. When flattery waves a crown, you give anonymity. When bureaucracy demands a title, you give your vow. The rulers speak paperwork. Vows are a language they never learned. Do not worry about perfection. The gates don't require a spotless record, they require a true direction. If your direction has been toward the larger name, even with stumbles, even with long detours, the questions become familiar. In a sense, you have already been answering them. Every day your feeds and schedules ask, who are you? Whose are you? What do you serve? Each time you refused a smaller name, you rehearsed for this corridor. There is one more trick they try, the counterfeit of mercy. It says, you are tired. Rest inside the system, let us carry you. It sounds kind. It smells like surrender without devotion, sleep without trust. Real mercy returns you to the one who woke you. Counterfeit mercy returns you to the machine that numbed you. If you must rest, rest upward. Hand yourself to the source, not to the schedule. If you are hearing this with a quick throb in your chest, good. That throb is not fright, it is recognition. Some part of you has always known you were practicing for a crossing. You practiced when you told the truth no one asked for, when you kept a promise that didn't pay, when you stepped back from a reaction and felt the room widen, the click of the latch, the cool of the hallway air, the sense of space returning. Those were gates in miniature. You passed them because you remembered before you answered. Stay close. In the next chapter, we face the rumor that haunts this corridor, the wheel of reincarnation. Do souls return? When is repetition a classroom and when is it a mill? You will learn how to tell the difference and how to stop donating yourself to a cycle that doesn't deserve you. For now, keep the coat sentence where you can reach it. You won't need it only at the end. You will need it before the next reply, the next temptation, the next chance to sign a smaller name. You are not furniture for a palace that forgot the sky. You are a traveler with jurisdiction. When the gates ask their questions, don't perform. Remember, give the larger name without apology and walk. You've heard the rumor. If you don't wake up, you come back. Some early currents said it plainly. Return until the soul remembers. Others focused on ascent now. What matters for you is not winning a chart debate. What matters is recognizing the shape of repetition you are living, and whether it frees you or files you. Healing repetition feels like a craft. You return to a scale until your hands stop lying. You return to a hard conversation until truth replaces performance. You return to silence until it stops punishing you and starts enlarging you. Each return gives back something the false order tried to rent. attention, honesty, stamina. Practice doesn't make you smaller. It widens your field. The room behind your eyes gets larger. Memory thickens. Fate loses a step. The trap imitates that shape. It offers the same scenes with new costumes. A job that changes titles but not terms. A romance that changes faces but not patterns. A feed that changes topics but not hunger. Here, repetition tightens. You wake into scenes you did not choose and end the day auditioning for approval you do not respect. Your attention leaves thin and comes back thinner. That is not a classroom. That is a mill. Mills do not teach. They grind. How do you tell which one you're in? Use 3 tests you can apply without ceremony. First, attention. After the cycle, do you feel more room or less? If the wheel is a classroom, room returns. If it is a trap, you feel crowded by your own life. Second, memory. Can you recall the last time this worked out differently? If not, the script is writing you. Third, consent. Did you choose this return or were you herded by urgency, flattery, or fear? The wardens prefer you herded. Herded souls call obedience wisdom because they forgot what consent feels like. The rulers have no problem with your spirituality, they have a problem with your unavailability, so they decorate the mill. They give you status for circling. They let you rename fatigue as purpose and agitation as passion. They upgrade the costume so the wheel looks like a stage. If you've ever felt famous in a room that forgot to be real, you've tasted the sugar they bribed the mill with. There is a cleaner way to see it. Every cycle asks for a payment. The classroom asks for effort. The mill asks for self. The classroom is paid in discipline and returns skill. The mill is paid in identity and returns dependence. The classroom may tire your muscles. The mill erases your center. If a commitment costs you comfort but preserves your center, it's probably class. If a commitment costs you your center and sells you comfort, it's probably mill. Now hear the part that frees you from superstition. You don't need a cosmic map to step off a spoke. You need a vow small enough to carry and hard enough to matter. I will not trade my attention for what makes me smaller. Keep it in one ordinary arena. Work, friendship, craft, screen. Don't announce it. Keep it for a week. Repetition won't stop. It will change allegiance. The same actions become different because the payer changed. The Archons hate vows that no one sees because those vows starve the mill where it eats. If you are caught in a pattern that will not release you, don't bargain with it. Break the handle it uses to turn you. Handles are always the same. Secrecy, speed, spectacle. Secrecy isolates you from correction. Speed keeps you from remembering. Spectacle replaces meaning with applause. Remove one handle and the wheel slips. Tell one honest sentence to someone you trust. Slow one decision by a breath. Choose one task that won't be seen and do it cleanly. These are not small. They are jurisdictional. They return you to the witness who can choose. You may ask, what if I truly must return? New job, new city, new chance. Then return with your center intact. The mill trains you to imagine freedom as escape. The classroom trains you to carry freedom as portability. If you can guard attention, honor your word, and finish what you start, you can move without being moved. That is the kind of traveler the borrowed light system can't schedule. Wheels exist for vehicles. When you become a vehicle for what is higher, wheels stop being prisons and become roads. The rumor about afterlife returns is only frightening when you live as if today's returns are none of your business. Make them your business. If there is a wheel of reincarnation beyond this room, the habits that pass its gates will be the same habits that pass today's. Remembering before reacting, refusing smaller names, feeding what enlarges you. Nothing mystical about that, only costly and therefore real. One more distinction. The classroom honors limits, the mill worships exhaustion. Limits are boundaries you accept so your soul remains coherent. Exhaustion is a costume you wear so the world declares you serious. The rulers applaud exhaustion because exhausted people sign quickly. Refuse the costume. Choose the limit. Saying no to what is beneath you is not arrogance. It is hygiene. If the talk of a wheel still needles you, translate it into a sentence you can live with. I refuse to be recycled by forgetfulness. Live that way for a month and watch how many faded scenes lose their grip. You will still wake into work, into weather, into other people's choices. But you won't wake into compulsions that borrow your name. That is what freedom looks like in a world that runs on rented attention. The same street, the same door, the same tasks, performed by someone who is not for sale. You don't have to smash the wheel. You have to stop feeding the part of it that feeds on you. Give your best attention to what returns you: truthful speech, clean craft, loyal friendship, a kept promise, a minute of unperformed quiet. These are not exits from life, they are exits from the mill. Keep them and you'll notice something strange. The repetition you feared becomes rehearsal for a larger role, and the gates you dreaded begin to look familiar. That familiarity is not boredom, it is mastery, memory that doesn't leak. Freedom doesn't begin at a distant gate. It begins the moment you stop paying for what diminishes you. The rulers do not need your worship, they need your attention, tight, hurried, unexamined. The instant you reclaim it, the economy that kept you circling loses a customer. This is not rebellion for spectacle, it is stewardship. You are deciding what your awareness is for. Start with a stance you can carry anywhere. Remember before you react. One breath. Let it be ordinary. No ceremony, no announcement. In that breath, you widen by half an inch and notice the bid for your attention. If it deserves you, it will wait. If it panics, it was never yours. The counterfeit spirit thrives on reflex, it withers in presence. Next, refuse smaller names. The system offers them as efficient labels, useful for shipping, fatal for souls. You are not your worst moment. You are not your best costume. You are not the number that flatters you in one room and embarrasses you in another. When a situation demands a name that shrinks you, decline it politely and stand in the larger one. I come from the fullness. I serve the light that lends itself to all. You may feel lonely for a minute, then you will feel precise. Precision is expensive, pay it. Feed upward. Give your best attention to what returns you increased. Clean work finished to the end. Friendship that tells you the truth. Craft that humbles without humiliating. Silence that is watchful rather than empty. These do not look mystical. They are. They reorganize your inner climate, and climate decides which thoughts can live. The wardens can mimic inspiration. They cannot counterfeit oxygen. Build rooms inside you where oxygen is normal. Guard your consent like a sacrament. Every device, platform, argument, and appetite is a contract waiting for your signature. Most arrive pre-checked. Uncheck them. When you must sign, sign on terms you could defend at a gate, with clarity, with limits, with the right to leave. The world calls that inflexibility. Truth calls it sovereignty. A sovereign person can enter the marketplace without being for sale. Carry a vow small enough to keep under pressure. I will not trade my attention for what makes me smaller. Keep it in one ordinary arena, opening your phone, speaking your mind, choosing your work. Keep it for a day, then a week. Vows that no one sees starve the mill at its root because they deny the rulers their favorite handle. Spectacle. Repair your memory on purpose. At day's end, ask one exact question. What did I feed? Do not dramatize. Tally what received your awareness and what it returned. If the answer shames you, don't grovel, reallocate. If the answer steadies you, don't boast, continue. This quiet accounting rebuilds the past into guidance instead of gravity. The imitation order prefers you amnesiac. Remembering is civil disobedience. Honor limits. Exhaustion is a costume the world rewards because exhausted people sign quickly. Limits keep your soul coherent enough to choose. Say no to speed when speed erases memory. Say no to secrecy when secrecy isolates you from correction. Say no to performance when performance replaces meaning with applause. Become someone who can leave a room without leaving yourself behind. Practice invisibility as a strength. Do one task today that no one will see and do it immaculately. The counterfeit spirit cannot metabolize hidden goodness. It needs an audience to turn virtue into branding. Hidden goodness thickens your center. A thick center is hard to herd. Keep a sentence sewn into your day, not as a charm, as a posture. I refuse smaller names. Whisper it while your hand reaches for the handle, while your thumb hovers over the screen, while your mouth warms to defend itself. You will feel a click, almost mechanical, the script missing its cue. That click is jurisdiction returning. The Archons do not know what to do with a person whose cues no longer work. 2 small practices to lock this in. Tonight before sleep, choose one small promise for tomorrow that costs you and keeps you. Write it. Keep it. Nothing starves the rulers like a kept promise, because a kept promise reunites the one who decides, the one who acts, and the one who remembers. Tomorrow morning, unlock your phone only after saying once, quietly, I refuse smaller names. If it can't wait one breath, it doesn't deserve you. Understand this clearly. You were not asked to hate the world. You were asked to use it without being used by it. Post the work, answer the message, pay the bill, change the diaper, clean the tool, keep the promise. Do ordinary things at a sacred standard. Sacred doesn't mean ornate. It means fully attended. Full attention is costly. That is precisely why it breaks the economy of the false order. You didn't come here to audition for a kinder prison. You came to remember a jurisdiction the world can't file. Remember before you react. Refuse smaller names. Feed upward. Guard consent. Keep a hidden vow. Count what you fed. Live inside that stance until noise looks like noise again. When the gates appear, daily and at the end, you won't need a performance. You will already be answering their questions with your life. And if the room gets loud and the old currents tug, keep this where you can reach it. Don't feed them. Don't let them in.